Do you constantly worry about what people think of you, like you're silently being judged or rejected without even realizing it? That fear can be paralyzing. In this episode, we are uncovering the root of the fear of judgment, how it feeds social anxiety, and the exact mindset shifts you need to stop giving so much power to other people's opinions. Welcome to your Anxiety Toolkit podcast, where I bring you all the virtual hugs and practical strategies to help you face your fears and live each day with courage and compassion. My name is Kimberley Quinlan. I am a licensed therapist and anxiety specialist. And today we're talking about how to stop worrying about what others think of you. Whether you're struggling with anxiety, social anxiety, OCD, panic, or perfectionism, this episode is your space to learn science-backed tools and to build a life you love, even when fear is on board. So let's get going. Okay, so I get it. Everybody hates being judged. Well, actually, most people hate being judged. But that's not technically a bad thing. In fact, I always sort of question those who say they don't give a crap what other people think. Because at that point, at what degree are you completely disconnected from other human beings and being in connection with people? I don't hate the idea that I don't want to be judged. I want people to like me. I'm not afraid to admit that. But what we want to do here is catch whether your need to avoid other people's judgment is interfering with your daily functioning, interfering with you connecting with other people. That's what we're really talking about today. The wish to be in connection and the wish to be enjoyed by other people is nothing to pathologize. It is a normal part of human beings. That being said, we also have to understand that from a biological standpoint, we need to be in connection. We want to be a part of the tribe, per se. And so we first just have to acknowledge that science-backed piece of the work here as well. Now, when you are so afraid of judgment that it interferes with your relationships, your work, your academics, how you feel about yourself, that is what we're talking about today. And so what I first want you to do, if you're listening or watching, is to just check in and ask yourself, how much is the fear of judgment impacting my life? Does it prevent me from doing the things I love? Does it stop me from trying to succeed, reach for my goals, push myself out of my comfort zone? If so, let's talk about some strategies that you can use moving forward so that you can stop worrying so much about what others think. Now, there is a concept in social anxiety that I first want you to understand, and we have talked about it here on the podcast before, and that is the concept of the spotlight effect. Now, this is a very well-known theory or phenomenon that occurs where when we are in social settings, we feel like the world is watching us, that we're in this black room and there is a spotlight, a very large, bright spotlight only on us, and everybody is looking at us and noticing us and focusing on every little small move that we make. This is an error in thinking, in that we think we're magnifying what we think people are noticing. And the truth of the matter is, people are not noticing every move you make. They're mostly thinking about themselves. They're mostly trying to figure out what's going on in their life, whether they're being judged, whether they're performing well. They're not watching your every single move, and they're not judging your every single move. Research shows that people are much more forgiving than we think they are. And we must understand that in order to, when we go out into public situations and we start to solve or try to figure out what they think about us. The next important thing to remember is most of the time when my patients tell me that they're afraid of what other people are thinking and they're afraid of being judged, it is usually the inner critic that is doing the judging. It is them that's doing the judging. They have an internal inner critic that is analyzing and assessing everything they do, and they are assuming that's what other people are thinking too. But the truth is, your inner critic isn't a form of reality either. It is not factual. It is usually comes from childhood messages that we received, from other people we like, people we didn't like, people who bullied us. And that internal narrative has taken its place and is now narrating what happened. And you've gone into the trap of believing everything that you think. So let me tell you a personal story about this. A couple of months ago, I was at a luncheon and I was with a friend. And on the way home from the luncheon, my friend said, "Oh my gosh, did you notice how completely awkward I was when such and such brought up that one topic? I was freaking out. I couldn't get my sentences together. I look like such an idiot." And I genuinely had no idea what she was talking about. And I'm not somebody who misses things either. Like, I'm not one of those people who is oblivious to what's going on around me. Like, I'm pretty in tune. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I was a total disaster." She said it took me like a solid 15 minutes to get over it. And again, I was thinking, I was there for that conversation and I didn't notice a thing. She was like, "My heart was racing. I couldn't barely get my words out." And that is a perfect example of what her inner critic's narration was compared to what it was actually like to be with her in that event and at that luncheon. And so I want you to think about this, is how much of your inner critic is actually telling the story and how much is actual reality. Now, I don't want you to get into like a over-analysis of trying to figure that out. I just want you to take note that I'm guessing 15% of what you think was horrible about an event or how you showed up or how you look or how you acted, right? Any part of it is what other people notice. Now, even in the instance where people do screw up or say the wrong thing, people aren't as harsh as you think they are. People are generally pretty forgiving. And again, I think people don't think black and white like we assume they do. That they're not thinking they're good people, bad people. They're good and bad. They're good and bad. Oh, that thing they said was a little awkward, therefore they're bad. People don't think like that. People are more nuanced than that generally. But we, our inner critic, constantly are trying to put ourselves in the good and bad categories, and that is what's getting us into trouble. So what we want to do is remember these main core pieces and remember that, again, people don't notice half or even a quarter of what you think they notice. Now let's talk about some skills, some practices that you're going to need to practice so that you can stop letting fear of judgment control you. Number one, do that reality check. People are more focused on themselves. People have big problems. The world is really hard right now. Give yourself some slack. Number two, stop focusing on being in performance mode and focus on connecting or values. Why are you even there? Are you there just to get people's approval? What's your intention in being there? Is it to, like I was at a luncheon, my intention to be there was to support the person who had the luncheon and to donate money. If you're at school, your intention could be to learn. Instead of being focused on getting approval, it could be to help someone, be in connection with someone, simply to exist. Take the pressure off being in performance mode Practice being in connection or being authentic, right? That is where we actually get fulfillment from these experiences. The next step is be kind. Accept that you are a human being. You deserve to just be who you are. Practice self-acceptance for yourself. We are both beautiful, perfect humans who are imperfect and messy. That is the facts. Please acknowledge that and give yourself permission to be exactly that. The next step is be a little mindful if you can. Be in the moment. If my friend at that luncheon was being present, she also would have noticed what else was going on. The tea we were drinking, the scones we were eating, the sound of the music in the room or the sound of the chatter of the room. She would have noticed my facial expression and my opinion about the thing or somebody else's opinion. Maybe she would have been curious about, oh, there's other opinions about certain things, and let's be in communication and connection about this topic that we all don't agree on. That's okay. So we want to bring our attention to being as present as we can, not up here in our heads doing a tally of what judgments that we think that they are having. Now, this last piece of advice is probably number one. So in order, I would do these in order of easiest to hardest, this one being the hardest, and also the least important maybe to the most important. Well, not least important, I shouldn't say that. More so how much bang for your buck you get. And this is what I want to really hone in on. So this is what I really want to hone in on. There is a particular form of cognitive behavioral therapy that we practice with people with social anxiety, and it is called rejection therapy. For those of my clients who have a severe and significant fear of being judged, what we do is we go out and we practice being rejected on purpose. Yes, on purpose. We identify ways that we can get rejected, maybe between 15 to 20, and we make it our goal to go out and do those things as many times as possible. We try for people to say no to us. We try to get rejected. We try to make a fool of ourselves. We try to be judged. I've had clients wear different colored socks, put pepper in their teeth and go and say good morning to people, wear funny looking clothes. I've had clients go and ask random strangers for the time if that's really anxiety provoking for them. I've had clients, they've all agreed to these too, by the way. They've said that this is important to them and they've practiced. Maybe they go up and they say, excuse me, would you be able to lend me $1? Most people say no. But they practice being rejected. We're not doing this to be annoying. We're not doing this to harm other people in our public. We're doing it so that we can practice being judged. When I first started doing this podcast, it was actually a part of rejection therapy treatment. I noticed that I felt like everyone needed me to be perfect and produce these highly perfect, groomed, well-created podcasts. And at that point, it was stopping me. I was actually starting to stop recording. And so I was like, okay, we've got to do rejection therapy. Let's just throw the script out and let's just practice doing it imperfectly and let's let people judge us. And through that, I habituated. I learned that number one, people didn't care so much. Number two, when I put the emphasis on helping other people instead of worrying about what they judged me about, it helped people. People enjoyed it. They felt a connection with me. And up until now, thousands of people have reached out and said how helpful the podcast has been. I've never met any of them, and I did it all while being imperfect. Maybe they even didn't like some of the things I said, but that's okay too. And so finding these opportunities to practice being rejected, being judged, being imperfect can be so powerful. Once you've practiced it, I'd say 15 to 30 times, you're going to start to see, oh, wow, this is totally tolerable. Oh, wow, I can actually do this. Oh, wow, it's actually more fun to show up being a little more like in your body, a little more imperfect, a little more in enjoyment of it, a little more playful. The playfulness piece is so important. As we did rejection therapy, I've had clients practice dancing in public, singing in public, walking backwards in public. They've chosen to do these things because they had a degree of playfulness in them. And they found that as they practiced this, they started to take themselves less seriously. And that's what I want for you. Take yourself less seriously. Be in connection with your joy and your creativity and your playfulness and your connection and your love for other humans. That is the antidote to fearing other people's judgment. All right? Thank you so much for being here. Your homework is to go and find ways that you can show up imperfectly and connected and playfully and creatively, if that lines up with you. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you in the next episode.